What's up, everybody, and welcome back to All the Things, Sorta Truth. Once again, I'm Nate.
And I'm Jade.
In this episode, we're going to be getting into Chapter 3 of Wizard's First Rule. But first, I think Jade's got some more news.
Yeah, well, before we even get into the news, I do want to make a small correction.
All right.
To something that I said. In what was technically our second episode, when we were going over Chapter 1, I mentioned that David Beekman had done the original cover art for Wizard's First Rule. That was a lie.
Oh, no.
His name is actually Doug. Sorry, Doug. So I just wanted to correct that because it's not cool to be giving out false information.
That's right, JD. And as long as you promise to try to never do it again, I think we'll all forgive you.
I will try. Probably not succeed, but I'll try. If there's ever anything else that I make a mistake on, which I'm sure there will be, please make sure to let us know either in our email or any of our socials, which are going to be at the end of this episode. Okay, now, getting into the news. There was some stuff happening on Facebook this last week, at least as far as the podcast goes. We posted in the First File Facebook group, which, if you don't know what the First File is, we are going to find that out later in the series, but there is a Facebook group of the biggest fans of Terry Goodkind that have been around for a long time. They all are part of this group. And when I posted, we got some pretty good responses. And one of the people who responded to us is Daniel Heron. I think I'm saying your name right. Hopefully I am. And he said that we were, first of all, he called us lovable geeks, which is the best.
I'm cool with it.
Absolutely loved that. He actually responded to our questions in the last episode about how the quad got in front of Richard and Kaylin, and he had a couple of thoughts on that. He said that he thought that Richard took her on a more circuitous route to be stealthy and hidden, but not quite faster. And also, there's time between when he sees her from above, and they could have seen him moving to intercept her, and possibly moved around them during that time, which I thought was actually pretty
solid theory, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
We couldn't quite figure it out while we were on air last time, but since then we'd been thinking about it, and she read me your answer, and I was like, well, that's obviously it. Yeah. He wins the day.
Mm-hmm. He also said the soldiers move at the speed of plot. And
super clever.
Yeah, that was, I mean, if nothing else, that is the right answer.
Yeah. They move as fast as they have to, guys. Come on.
And then I also posted a question about something that happens later in this episode, which we will get into a little bit later. In the official Terry Goodkind and Sword of Truth book club on Facebook, we mentioned that one in the last episode, I believe. And I got a lot of response back on that question that I asked. A lot of people knew the answer that I didn't know. Again, we'll get into that. But I actually had a couple of people who mentioned finding the podcast, and one of those people was Sean Bachman. Again, not great with names. Hopefully I didn't slaughter it. But he mentioned that he had started listening to the first 2 episodes. He started the third, and he thought it was great that there were more super fans out there, and he looks forward to hearing more. And first of all, before I even get into the other thing that he posted, because he did post another thing, I just want to say to all of the people who are listening, we super appreciate you. This is the whole point of why we're doing this. We want to connect with you guys. It means a whole heck of a lot to both of us.
It really, really does. We had pretty low expectations, I guess you could say, for the amount of feedback we would get when we started this, and we've been wrong in a really big way, and that's good with us. We're really happy that we're getting feedback from you guys, and we're starting a conversation, because that's what it was all about.
Absolutely. So keep letting us know what you think. Keep your thoughts and opinions and theories, all that crap. Keep sending it to us, because we love the shit out of it. So, Sean actually made a separate post from the one that I posted about when Kaylin and Richard first met, and he totally gave us a shout out. Again, love the support. Yay. Post us as many times as you want to. But he mentioned that we know that wizards sometimes have to use people, and it may lead to their death, And he was wondering if when Kaylin first met Richard, if she was using him, or if she thought that they would for sure make it out of that together. And I responded that I kind of thought it was a mixture of both, because she definitely doesn't tell him everything that he's up against. And it kind of seems like that's kind of what he was thinking too, that Kaylin had way more knowledge of this, and Richard was going in defenseless. Even if he's a likable guy, I think that she knew he was expendable, but that she needed him.
Yeah, and I just added to that I think she asked him if he was choosing to help her, to help alleviate maybe some of the guilt of getting an innocent dude killed.
Right, and there were a lot of people who commented on there, and they all believe that Richard was given the choice, and after he was given the choice, she wasn't really using him because she gave him that choice. I feel like it's a little bit more complicated than that. You can't just say, oh, well, she asked if he was willing to help, so that totally nullifies all of her responsibility to him. I don't think it's that cut and dry, because there was 4 big-ass dudes behind her that had gotten through the boundary, which was not supposed to be an easy fucking thing to do. But I mean, we aren't ever told what Kaylin's really thinking, so I guess we don't really know for sure. But I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. So again, keep that shit coming. Okay, so last point that I have that I guess is actually news. This is actual news now, guys.
This is it now.
Terry Goodkind is going to be releasing The Girl in the Moon on September 17th in paperback, and it's going to include a novella called Trouble's Child, where you meet the main character. He's also going to be doing an Ask Me Anything on September 18th in that official Terry Goodkind and Sword of Truth Facebook group, so if you're not a part of it and you want to be a part of that conversation, make sure you get in on that, and, I don't know, read the book. I haven't read that book yet. I know, maybe I'm behind. We've discussed this before. I haven't been keeping up on my reading as well as I should, but we're definitely going to be picking that book up.
I have read them, and I will probably be on Facebook as well. I'll be in the comments somewhere.
Somewhere in there.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't miss that.
So, now that we have all that out of the way, we're going to crack into this chapter.
Yeah, in this chapter, Richard and Kaylin flee the murder scene, and yes, I'm calling it a murder scene. You can disagree if you want.
No, it is one.
But it totally is. And then we're introduced to some of Richard's friends and family. Basically, his whole people.
All his people.
Yep.
All right, here we go. No spoiler alert. If we skip around a little bit, don't hate us. That's where we're at, guys.
We start off at Michael's house, which is Richard's brother. And it's talking about how it's a big, cold stone house. And all of the people that are there are finely dressed. And they're all of means. And they're not Richard's kind of people at all.
Well, and he's sweaty and dirty from running around in the woods all morning. And, you know, tripping balls. And Kaylin's super clean despite all that blood up on the mountain, which is a little bit weird, but whatever. She just somehow has a white dress that's clean despite traveling in the first place. I think it's really funny that Richard's like, oh, I didn't want to waste time going back and changing my clothes. But, dude, he was running around the woods before he had some important thing to go to in the afternoon. I don't think he was that worried about being clean and ready for this fucking speech.
You think he knew he was going to get dirty in the woods anyway? So he's like, screw it. It's not that important.
I can't see how, unless he was up there like real early and this all went on way longer than he expected, that he really thought he was going to get time to go home and like shower and do his hair. So, just saying, if you have a formal event in the afternoon, maybe don't go digging around the upper Ven.
Yeah.
On their way to Michael's house, Kaylin asks Richard about himself, kind of to distract him, because he is obviously upset about, committing murder. So she asks him about having a fire and, like, cooking on fire, and he's like, yeah, why? And she's Like, oh, I just really miss sitting next to one. And it was a little bit weird.
Yeah, but I think that was only because she's been traveling for a couple of days. And so she probably hasn't eaten or, used it for warmth in a little while. She's probably just ready to see one.
That was a good point.
That's only what I think. I don't know.
That's a good point. So once I get there, they are greeted by somebody fucking with Richard right away.
Yes.
And he's like, invitation? And Richard's like, what?
Immediately throws him off his game.
This is where we first meet another character that we've heard of once before.
Dale Branstone.
Dale Branstone, yeah. We don't hear that name again after this, though.
No, they never really bring it up, do they?
No. But he's covered in weapons.
Yes. A ton of weapons.
Yeah. And this is the guy that he thought he saw when he saw Kaylin the first time.
Yeah. I wanted to raise that point. Earlier when he saw Kaylin for the first time, he was like, oh, it could be my friend Chase. And then he took a few steps more and realized it was Kaylin. These two do not look anything like each other.
The things they wear on their body are nowhere similar.
Right. She's wearing a white dress and he's covered in weapons and armor and not even close to the same thing.
Yeah.
So that poison must be working on Richard.
Yeah.
If not before when we were kind of joking about it. Now for real, it's got to be screwing with his head.
Yeah. At least a little bit. And Chase mentions that Michael called all the boundary wardens to be his personal guard. And it's a real big power move, also a real big dick move, because he also has a personal guard and the army that he could use as his personal guard.
Right. These guys are the guys who, they ward the boundary. They're guys who deal with potential magic. They're guys who deal with things coming through the boundary. These are the ultimate elite, the best of the best, and Michael had to take them for his purposes, even though he's literally surrounded in an army. Doesn't matter, he wants these guys too. And it takes away, the law enforcement from the town, it sounds like. He's
legit putting the people that he's supposed to be in charge of now in harm's way. 100%.
First thing he does, everybody's immediately in danger. Good call, buddy.
And they do mention that Richard looks around and he can't see any of these guys.
Yeah, and Chase assures him that they're out there, that they could be hiding on your foot. If they didn't want you to know that they were there, you wouldn't know.
They're wearing camo.
Yeah. Just throw that ghillie suit on.
So then they have a little conversation about Richard's dad and that murder. And Richard's father's murderer is the first person that Chase hasn't caught.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about Richard's father, and obviously these two are friends, and Chase is involved with interrogation and tracking people down, and this whole thing kind of takes a turn onto all the types of torture that he would like to do, or would do gladly, to find out who killed Richard's dad. And he's like, no, I asked some people, and I know for a fact that they would have said if it was them. Because, he's just torturing people. They're just having a super cash conversation about some torture. In front of Richard's new lady friend on top of that.
Yeah, he mentions that if anybody had information, they would have spilled.
And on top of that, Kaylin's never had a friend before. So now Richard's like, hey, so this is my friend. Like, oh, that's your friend. Yeah, I should get a few of those. They'd come in handy.
Obviously, they're super comfortable talking about that kind of stuff with each other because Richard goes right into the murder that he just committed. And Chase is not weird about it at all. He's like, oh, it's kind of weird. But, let's keep that a secret between us. All right?
He's like, all right, no big deal. I mean, did you have to do it? What's, okay, all right. Just a little murder. We can figure that out. It's fine, I'm sure. Doesn't even bat an eye at it.
Where are the bodies at? We need to clean that up, or...
Right. Well, we should clean up the bodies, I guess.